Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Brasilia after attending the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with President Lula da Silva on a state visit there in key areas of cooperation. BRICS leaders push for empowering the Global South, reforms and responsible AI. Prime Minister Modi urges for lead-by-example approach. He also says that for India, climate justice is not an option, it is a moral duty. And both Trump and Netanyahu express optimism of a ceasefire in Gaza as Netanyahu is set to visit the White House today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Brasilia a short while ago after attending the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. Prime Minister is in Brasilia on a state visit, and he will be holding bilateral discussions with President of Brazil, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. They will be discussing a broad range of issues, including broadening of the strategic partnership between the two countries in areas of mutual interest. These would include trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture, health, and people-to-people linkages. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the President of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsi. This happened on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. And the two leaders, they held discussions covering the full spectrum of bilateral relations. The key area of discussion was strengthening bilateral trade and investment. Both sides have expressed an interest in the expansion of India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement. It's aimed at unlocking greater economic potential and trade complementarities. The Prime Minister has expressed his gratitude to President Orsi for the strong condemnation of that barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam. He's also appreciated Uruguay's solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism, and that is in all its forms and manifestations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held a meeting with the President of Bolivia, Luis Alberto Arce, in Rio de Janeiro. This happened on the sidelines of the 17th BRICS summit. The two leaders have reviewed the bilateral cooperation that they have. They've expressed satisfaction with the progress achieved. They expressed satisfaction over the ongoing development cooperation between the two countries, including through that Quick Impact Project scheme, as well as the capacity building initiatives under the iTech Scholarships program. Now, Prime Minister Modi has expressed solidarity with the people of Bolivia in the wake of the severe flooding that has occurred in March, April of this year in La Paz and several other parts of the country. He also congratulated, Bolivia on joining the International Solar Alliance. Prime Minister Modi has conveyed his best wishes to Bolivia for the 200 years of their independence, a historic occasion indeed. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, as well as a session on strengthening multilateral economic, financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Prime Minister underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. The Prime Minister called for working towards a responsible AI.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance in peace and security, as well as session on strengthening multilateral economic financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In his address at the inaugural session on reform of global governance in peace and security, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's commitment to enhancing the voice of the global South. PM Modi stated that global governance institutions such as UN Security Council, the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and the World Trade Organization must undergo urgent reform to reflect contemporary realities. Calling for strong global action against terrorism, Prime Minister Modi noted that those funding, promoting, or providing safe havens to terrorists must be dealt with in the harshest terms.
Honorable Prime Minister underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. In this context, he noted that all the leaders have condemned Pahalgam terrorist attack in strongest terms.
While in his address at the session on strengthening multilateral economic financial affairs and artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Modi said that BRICS could play an important role in shaping a multipolar world. Prime Minister Modi offered 4 suggestions. First, BRICS New Development Bank must follow demand-driven principle and long-term sustainability for granting projects. 2. The group considers setting up a science and research repository which could benefit the global South countries. 3. Focus must be given to make the supply chain of critical minerals secured and resilient. And number 4, group should work on responsible AI while looking into the concerns of AI governance. It should also give equal importance to promoting innovation in the field. At the conclusion of the leaders' session, member countries adopted the Rio de Janeiro Declaration. The leaders in the declaration noted that we reiterate our support for a comprehensive reform of the United Nations, including its Security Council, with a view to making it more democratic, representative, effective, and efficient. We condemn in the strongest terms the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir on 22nd April 2025, during which 26 people were killed and many more injured. We reaffirm our commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, including the cross border movement of terrorists, terrorism financing, and safe havens. We extend full support to India for its BRICS chairship in 2026 and holding the 18th BRICS summit in India. On the sidelines of the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral meetings with various world leaders. PM Modi met the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar bin Ibrahim. PM Modi thanked Prime Minister Ibrahim for his strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met Cuba's President, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez. The two leaders reviewed bilateral ties in the areas of economic cooperation, development partnership, fintech, capacity building, science and technology, disaster management, and healthcare. Besides this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met his Vietnamese counterpart Pham Minh Chinh on the sidelines of BRICS summit in Brazil. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared some glimpses of his visit to Rio de Janeiro on the social media platform X. The Prime Minister described the Rio leg of his visit as very productive, and Prime Minister had extensive deliberations at the BRICS summit. Prime Minister Modi complimented President Lula da Silva and the Brazilian government for their work during Brazil's BRICS presidency in making this platform even more effective. He added that his bilateral meetings with various world leaders during the summit will further strengthen India's friendship with several nations. Indian cuisine is gaining widespread recognition globally and becoming a preferred choice among international food lovers. There was a time, in fact, when Indian food was virtually unknown in Brazil. However, the scenario has changed significantly. Enterprising individuals are now going there and taking Indian cuisine to the Brazilians through startups, and the response has been overwhelming. It's been positive. Now DD India is looking at this restaurant here, which is much loved, and has taken a few sound bites of people.
Delicious. We love coming here. The food is very good. We like very much, a lot.
Very tasteful.
Let's take a look at some other stories making news from around the world. Conservationists have made a major breakthrough in wildlife preservation in February with the discovery of a new subpopulation of the rare Andean huemul deer in Cape Forward, a remote area of southern Patagonia. 10 of these critically endangered deer were spotted, which was an encouraging sign for the species that has lost 99% of its population due to hunting. The finding offers renewed hope of the survival and recovery of the huemul. Well, artisanal and small-scale miners protested on Monday outside the Peruvian Congress as the Peruvian President, Dina Boluarte, she vowed on Sunday not to yield to pressures or blackmail from illegal miners protesting across the country. The ongoing protests highlight the tensions between the government's crackdown on illegal mining and the miners' struggle for formal recognition. Firefighters in Spain's Catalonia battled on Monday. They were battling a wildfire in the Pals Mountains in the Tarragona province, which has already burnt more than 150 hectares. The Catalan regional government said that firefighters were expected to have a tough night ahead because of the high winds, and they were not expecting improvements in the weather conditions until Tuesday. Still to come here on DD India Live. 11 dead in Kenya during protests after heavy police deployment. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to attend the ASEAN meetings in Kuala Lumpur.
I love the atmosphere of the yatra. So many people come from each part of India, and it's like everybody, we're in the same community. No difference between people, and it's wonderful. We go all together for the same goal, to see the cave, to feel the atmosphere of the cave.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. The US President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on imports from Japan and South Korea effective August 1 in letters shared on his Truth Social platform. He warned that any retaliatory tariff increases would be met with equivalent hikes. Currently, under a 10% levy, both nations risk higher rates amid stalled negotiations. Trump extended the original July 9 tariff deadline to allow more time for talks. Around a dozen other countries are expected to receive similar warnings. These measures are part of a broader tariff campaign with deals only reached so far with the UK and Vietnam. Financial markets reacted negatively with the US-listed Japanese automaker stocks falling.
The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate, or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders, will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president, and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American.
The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said on Monday that the European Union must slow must show strength, but that they must show strength in the ongoing trade talks with the United States. Her comments came as von der Leyen is going to be facing a European Parliament no confidence vote on Thursday. This is the latest challenge to her presidency.
When the Commission sits down with the United States to negotiate on trade and tariffs, Europe must show strength. When we stand up for Ukraine's future, Europe must show strength. Or when we go to China to defend our interests, Europe must show strength. And this strength only comes through our unity. So let us come together. Let us keep delivering for Europe. Long live Europe.
Well, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will visit Malaysia this week for meetings of the Southeast Asian nations in his first trip to Asia as America's top diplomat. The State Department billed the July 8 to 12 trip as a move to reaffirm Washington's commitment to the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans for tariffs on Malaysia and 5 other countries in the 10-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations, whose ministers Rubio will join for meetings in the Malaysian capital Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia faces a 25% tariff, Laos and Myanmar 40%, Cambodia and the U.S. ally Thailand 36% and Indonesia 32%. Rubio will seek to firm up U.S. relationships with partners and allies unnerved by Trump's global tariff strategy. Trump's announcements seemed certain to make that task harder. President Trump's administration has revoked the foreign terrorist organization designation for the al-Nusra Front, also known as the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, according to the State Department memo filed on Monday. This is a major step as Washington moves to ease sanctions on Syria. The move comes a week after Trump had signed an executive order terminating a U.S. sanctions program on Syria to help end the country's isolation from the international financial system and building on Washington's pledge to help it rebuild after a devastating civil war. After 21 months of conflict, there is growing hope for a new ceasefire in Gaza as U.S. President Donald Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are meeting right now in the White House, as per reports on Al Jazeera. That meeting began at 10:30 p.m. GMT, which is currently on at the White House. Now, this is the Israeli Prime Minister's third visit since Trump returned to power in January. A U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal would pause the war, free Israeli hostages, and send much-needed aid flooding into Gaza. It also aims to open broader talks about ending the conflict. The hope for a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza is riding high. In fact, we are going to go across now once again to Brasilia, and we see here Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived at the hotel in Brasilia to a warm and rousing reception by the Indian community.
imam nityameva muktamutamam sabam patasmaram privannaro vishuddhimeti santatam hare gudal subhaktima shuyati naryatagati vimohanam videhinam suchankarasya chintanam vimohanam videhinam suchankarasya chintanam.
Om Shava 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 Shava
सर्वकार्यकर्त्रे सर्वविघ्न प्रशमनाय सर्वराजवशीकरणाय सर्वजना सर्वस्त्री सर्वपुरुष आकर्षणाय श्री ओम नमः स्वाहा. ओम जगत्प्रवाहपावितस्थले गले बलं व्यलम्बितां भुजङ्गतुङ्गमालिकां डमड्डमड्डमड्डमनिनादवड्डमर्वयम् चकार चण्डताण्डवन्तनोतु न शिव शिवं जटाकटाह सम्भ्रम भ्रमनिलिम्पनिर्झरि विलोलवीचिबालरि विराजमानमूर्धनि धगद् 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 ज्वलाललाटपट्टपावके किशोर चन्द्रशेखरे रचि प्रतिक्षणं मम धराधरेन्द्र नन्दिनी विलास बन्धु बन्धुरा सुरदिगन्त सन्तति प्रमोदमान मानसे कृपा कटाक्ष धोरणि निरुद्ध दुर्धराफलि सखि दिगम्बरे मनो विनोद हेतु वस्तुनि जटाभुजङ्ग पिङ्गला स्फुरत्वनामणि प्रभा कदम्ब कुङ्कुम द्रव प्रलिप्त दिग्वधूमुखे मदान सिन्धुर स्फुरत्वदुत्तरीय मेदुरे मनो विनोदमद्भुतं विभातभूतभर्तरि इमं हि नित्यमेव मुक्तमुत्तमोत्तमं सबं पठस्मरं ब्रुवन्नरो विशुद्धिमेति सन्ततं हरे गुरौ सुभक्तिमाशु याति नार्यसागति विमोहनं विदेहिनां सुशङ्करस्य चिन्तनं विमोहनं विदेहिनां सुशङ्करस्य चिन्तनम्.
Om Shava 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 Shava